King Philip's War. As you might have guessed, relations between Plymouth and other English colonists and the natives of Massachusetts, while they don't go on pretty well. And as you can see in this image, an ominous background picture, it certainly is a fairly bad time for everyone involved. And you're just sitting there being like, and well, someday. So who is this guy, King Philip? Who is the war itself named after? Good question. It's this man right here. He is King Philip. He is actually also known as Metacom, which is a fantastic name. If I had a nickname, it would certainly be Metacom. He is the son of Massasoit. So Metacom, or King Philip, as we'll call him for today, King Philip has grown up with the Pilgrims. He has seen how his tribe has grown from helping the Pilgrims to very much being dependent upon the English. We have big changes in Massachusetts in the composition of the people that live, namely due to the Great Migration. When the Pilgrims arrive, there's around 100,000 natives people. And if you recall from the first winter, there's only 50 of them. By the time 1640 rolls around, there's 20,000 of the British or English people in Massachusetts and surrounding areas, what's today Rhode Island and Connecticut. And this is a huge influx of people. The Great Migration is what they call it. And they're setting up towns, villages all over the area. Plymouth is the first, but you have places like Salem coming in 1626, 6 years later. Boston, 1630. People are coming over from England, namely because they want land. They see themselves not having land over in England, and they come to Massachusetts. These people don't need the assistance as much from the natives, so they are very much doing their own. And Native Americans themselves are having problems amongst the population. This is a map of the major tribes that were in Massachusetts and Rhode Island, Connecticut at the time. They're all under the Algonquin category, speaking similar languages. They are all separate tribes, however. You have the Massachusetts tribe near Boston, hence the name of the state in which we live. These tribes are decimated, absolutely decimated by diseases. Certainly they were so before the Pilgrims arrived. That's why the Pilgrims settle where they settle, is because their village was empty. But by the mid 1600s, their population has gone down to only around, when King Philip is there, 10,000 people. So they've gone from really having an upper hand, especially population-wise, to they're being dwarfed by the English settlers. I mean, English settlers, as you recall from Plymouth, most that are coming to Massachusetts have very strong religious beliefs. Now, the Pilgrims we saw, they weren't particularly interested immediately in converting the Wampanoag people, namely because they're focusing on survival. That's when you have two choices of A, you could live, or B, bring people to Jesus. Most people want to first figure out how to live first. When you have all these thousands upon thousands of English coming, who generally are surviving pretty well, that's when you start seeing conversions. You have these things called praying towns. Praying towns, their purpose is to convert natives to Christianity. It is not simply just converting, though. It's not saying, all right, here is the Bible, here are the words of God. Um, it's more than that and takes a fairly dark turn because the natives have a very distinct view of the world. And it's not simply here, take this religion. Praying towns are forcing natives to pretty much turn their back on their culture. They force, if you want to convert, you have to cut your hair. You're very much turning aside your traditional beliefs and practices in order to adopt Christianity. So you have Metacom. Metacom, Prince Philip or King Philip comes in, and he has these pressures that his people are seeing. There's so few of them left, and the ones that are left, they're being really encouraged or forced to give up their culture. And he feels that their way of life as a whole is under attack and is in serious danger. So he gets together 2/3 of all of the native people around him, the ones that aren't in these praying towns being converted. And there's certainly many that are saying, well, we are just going to join the English, and that seems like the best bet right now. We don't see that our way of life is really the one that is going to work. King Philip wants to fight. He decides to get together these tribes that still want to, and they start a war. It does not help that, especially the younger generations of pilgrims and other English, they don't really see much need for the natives anymore either. So you have the children of leaders who initially were quite friendly. You have Massasoit, who very much values his relations with the pilgrims, and you have pilgrim leaders who value their relations with the natives. Their children, however, they do not see it as such, and the children of the leaders end up being the ones that are encouraging this war. Many cases you see the English pressuring the natives, kind of backing them into a corner, and war breaks out. If you see in this map, you have war all over the area. It's devastating. It's one of, by percentage, the most, if not the most devastating war in American history. 10% of the population of Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut dies. You have upwards of 80% of native population either dying, they're sold into slavery, they're sent to the Caribbean as slaves, or just simply fleeing their land. It's devastating. You don't even see percentages like this in the Second World War. You have many English colonists who pack up and leave. They just say, I'm done with this, I'm going back to England. If you look where it says Boston, it says Deer Island. At one point, a bunch of the natives are put on this island. It's essentially a rock out in the middle of the harbor, and are left there to die. It's a nasty, nasty war on both sides. And eventually, the English, with superior numbers, you have large numbers of English. Remember, we're only down to 10,000 natives. And while they certainly do have the benefits of knowing the land and surprise on their side, they are defeated. Massasoit, or King Philip himself, he meets a fairly grisly end. He is captured and killed, and his head is chopped off and put on a pole, which is placed in Plymouth for years as a warning and a lesson to other natives around not to attempt similar situations.